And I guess you're going to have to find a new Dunkin' Donuts to go to.
Disappointed that they closed that one.
Yeah.
It's either that or across the bridge to Sitco or down to the old Red Barn.
Okay, so I just got to get through some housekeeping here real quick since we're getting close to go time. So folks who are watching at home on YouTube, if you would like to participate in public comment, you will have to actually join the Zoom meeting itself. So that means check the agenda, which is in the video, in this video's description. And a link to the Zoom meeting is in that PDF. For those who do want to participate in public comment tonight, you are going to have to use the raise hand feature. So we are going to, excuse me, Mary Jane. We are going to ask, I'm going to get a list going of people who have their hand raised. And we will call on you based on who's raised their hands first. When that time comes, the opportunity to sign up for public comment has a hard close at 7 p.m. So since we are about 7 or 8 minutes to go time, folks, if you would like to participate in public comment, please raise your hand now. Again, that doesn't mean literally hold your hand up to the screen. That means use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I'll get you on the list. Please keep your hands raised throughout. I will put your hand down. That allows me a way of keeping track of who has been called on and who hasn't. And you will have 5 minutes to address the council. I will not be keeping time. That would be handled by Councilman Skelly, who will be tonight's, if he's here, Sergeant at Arms. So if you want to participate in public comment, please do raise those hands now. Oh, the raise hand button. What you need to do is to open up the participants panel. At the bottom of your screen, there'll be a button that's an icon that says participants. Just click on that. It'll open up a white participants panel on the right-hand side. And in the bottom right, there should be an option to raise hand. Okay, Joe Baker, I got you. Pete, if you could please make me host. Randy, I'm going to send you your obligatory invitation to unmute. You can accept it when you're ready to jump in if you feel a need to jump in.
Thank you.
Are we expecting Katie tonight? She's usually here way in advance.
Yeah, I'm expecting her. But you're right, yeah, she is usually early.
Okay, we have, I got 4 minutes to go until go, I got 3 minutes till go time. So just a last minute reminder here for everybody who wants to participate in public comment to get those hands raised. If you guys are at home watching on YouTube, thanks for joining in. You will have to join in on the Zoom meeting to participate in public comment. If you check the link in the video's description on YouTube, it'll bring you to the agenda for tonight's meeting. And that should include the link to the Zoom meeting. For those who are in the Zoom meeting, if you want to participate in public comment, get those hands raised. Reminder, again, that is not instruction to literally hold your hand to the camera. It's to use the raise hand feature in Zoom. I used to have a tutorial. Unfortunately, Zoom has updated its UI since then, so the tutorial is no longer perfectly accurate. Where is Katie?
Oh, yeah, Katie's there.
And Mike, Dorian Hamilton's going to be one of the presenters, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm aware there's quite a few presenters tonight.
For ESG.
Okay. ESG.
ESG.
Oh, okay. Number 9. Okay.
Yep.
Mayor?
Hello, Katie.
We are still short Stephanie Barksdale. I imagine you'll be hearing her momentarily, but. Okay, so I have Joe Baker, and since I can't raise my hand, I would like to participate in public comment. So,
Okay.
Or Joe Baker and then me.
Okay. So could you unmute Joe? Mike?
Have we started the meeting yet?
Yep. 7 o'clock. So we'll start with the pledge.
Yep.
And Doug, could you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States of
America,
and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can have a moment of silence for men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, and the community members at Austin East Magnet High School who have been affected by the shooting that took place this afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
All right. I'm just going to let Stephanie in real quick before we go to public comment, if you don't mind, so that she can be ready to
Sure.
She's
jot down
in.
her notes. Yeah, it just
Okay.
takes a second to pull her in. Okay, Joe, here's your invitation to unmute.
Thank you, Mike. I'd like to thank the mayor and the council for giving me a couple of minutes to speak tonight. My topic is public notices. I'm a member of the zoning commission, but I'm not here representing the zoning commission. I'm here just as a citizen. Oh, by the way, Joe Baker, 14 Maplewood for the record. Um,
I'm sorry, Joe, can you repeat that address?
14 Maplewood Drive.
Thank you.
As a member of the zoning commission, a lot of people ask me what's going on, and it's become fairly obvious that no one can find the public notices. I mean, I know that the governor, as part of the COVID emergency regulations, has allowed us not to publish public notices in the newspaper. But people aren't being informed on what's going on in the government. They have no way of figuring it out. I know it's on the webpage, but it's 3 layers down, and it's hard enough for many of our residents just to find the webpage, much less go 3 layers down to find the public notices. It would certainly be helpful if it was on the front page and in the quick links, or somehow to allow people to get the public notices. You know, in the best tradition of New England government, in the founding days, we had a town crier who went out and rang a bell and got people's attention and said, hey, this is what's going on. Now you got to find a web page, you got to go 3 layers deep, and we're just not informing people of what's going on. And that's, you know, I get questions, people from Wetlands Commission asking me questions about what's going on. It's not an efficient system for actually being transparent and actually notifying people of what's going on in our government. And I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Mike?
All right, Mike Sinello, 111 Willow Springs. Just 2 quick things to point out here, as kind of a piggyback on Joe. This Thursday night is going to be the Board of Finance is going to have as part of the regular meeting. Agenda item 1 is going to be the budget deliberation. So that'll be the final step in the budget process before it goes to referendum. So if you guys want to check that out, that's happening at 7:00 Thursday night. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is, since we are streaming on YouTube as well, as kind of a backup for all of this, YouTube offers live captioning, but they don't offer it to, but they only offer it to channels that have 1,000 subscribers or more, where I think are around 212. So everybody who's watching on YouTube, if you guys could do us a huge solid and subscribe, that would give us another opportunity to have a backup for captioning services on the live end. So, you know, I know there's 28,000 or so people in this town. I'm sure we can get 1,000 people to subscribe. That way we can get that feature from YouTube. That's all I had to say.
Mike, I think the meeting is actually Wednesday evening, the Board of Finance, Wednesday evening.
Sorry, Wednesday evening, everybody. I screwed that up. I'm looking at my calendar right now. Yep.
Mike, how does one subscribe?
So if you go to the town's YouTube page, that is, all you have to do is go into YouTube and search Town of New Milford. And they should be the only one that pops up. Their icon is the pavilion. It should be painfully obvious which one that is. Click on there, and then there's buttons all over the place to subscribe. It will say subscribe under every video, and it will say subscribe next to the town's channel name. That's all.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Katie?
Thank you, Mayor. We'll start with our consent agenda. I move to accept the consent agenda items 3A through F, as in Frank.
Second.
We have a first. We have a first and a second.
I made a second, yes. And just in way of discussion or advertisement, the people, there's a lot of donations aside from our usual prior minutes and things, but Sullivan Farm would like to thank they had a donation of 8 pieces of antique farm equipment valued at $4,900, and they're going to be utilized to mark the hiking trails at the farm, which will be kind of a unique thing. And they also wanted to say thank you for the SAMHSA, which is the Community Drug Addiction Prevention Group, for a Talk to Prevent Underage Drinking team that gave a donation of $750 to provide programs for them for underage drinking. They do ask that the donation be put in the revenue account 10441900433 1044105, and a subsequent amount of $750 be placed in the expense account number 1044190058905. And the police department would like to thank Mr. Edmund Maloney for his donation of $200 toward the police cadet program. And the Parks and Rec would like to thank the Law Office of Celia Buck Taylor for a $150 donation, DeLeo and Company for $200 donation, Stone Construction for $25, West Street Power for $100, Marandola Fuel for $150, and J Noda Septic for $500. These donations were all made to and contributed toward the purchase of and the decorations we had over the holidays on the downtown lampposts. And they request that these donations be placed in revenue account 33510000484000, which is the Parks and Rec gift fund. And they thank all of those places for their generosity.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Item number 4, appointments and reappointments. Move that the youth agency as asked to add Virginia Landgrebe for a term of April 12th, 2021 through January 31st, 2022, and Mariah Waters for the same term of April 12th, 2021 to January 31st, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Your comments are next.
If it pleases the council, if it's okay, I would like to see if we could have Dr. Levin provide his update, and then Lisa Morrissey, and then I'll do the comments if that's okay with everyone.
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
Dr. Levin is with us.
Dr.
this
Levin?
evening.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor, Town Council. Delighted to be with you. Hopefully, you'll be able to fire me at some stage.
No.
Retire you.
No. You didn't read the fine print in that contract.
We've got some really great news, and I thought I'd just kind of give you perspective on this, if that's okay. It'll be a short report. And what I'd like to discuss is the fact that nationally we have now 4 broad groups who are en route to or completely immune at this stage to the COVID virus. Those are the people who are vaccinated fully, those who've had a partial shot, those who've had the disorder and are asymptomatic, and those who are symptomatic and had it. Roughly, it's a very encouraging picture. In total, we've got about 72 million people totally vaccinated. That's 22% of the population. Partially vaccinated, 119 million. So that's about 36%. So when you couple that with the asymptomatic and those who've had the disorder, we're creeping up closer. My guesstimate, it's close to 60% across the nation. And the rate is at a tremendous rate. On March 28, 15% of the population had been totally vaccinated. By today, that's 22%. In a couple of weeks, we're really moving at a tremendous speed. A counterpoint to that, sadly, we've just crossed 560,000 dead. But we can see the light at the end of the tunnel here to a certain extent. And the reason I bring this up is because we've all had a tough year. We've all had to sustain this for living lives that we never expected to lead. And within 3 to 4 weeks, we may be at a completely critical tipping point. Now, what could change that? That would be that the variants sweep in. We have a higher degree of hesitancy than we've seen. not in our region, but in other regions where we really have a lot of people who are not behaving well or not actually deciding to be vaccinated. There is a real concern that Brazil, which is completely out of control, you could have some additional variants creeping out of there, which, as we've seen with the British variant, once it gets here, it spreads real fast. And then we have the other one, which we're still not yet able to do, but we will shortly be able to do, is to start to vaccinate the younger people. But all of that having been said, I think why I started out by saying that the mayor, nice of you to say retire, I'll say fire. That's okay. Being fired by the best boss is the best way to go, right? The reality is that we're creeping towards what some people might describe as herd immunity. I'm not sure that's the right term. You know, it varies for the different diseases. For measles, you've got to have 95% of the population vaccinated or immune. Polio, that's about 80%. We don't truly know what COVID is, but our guessing is it's going to be somewhere around the 70 to 80%. And then we don't quite know, you know, unlike these other disorders, whether it's going to be like flu-like, where it comes and it goes, but that's the suspicion. It won't disappear in its entirety. But nevertheless, the picture is really good. The picture is increasingly good. So with the exceptions of places like Michigan, where as a result of not vaccinating, not taking very early steps, these very fast spreading variants have just swept in and doing huge amounts of damage. Same applies in portions of New Jersey, where they really didn't buckle down early on. You're seeing the variants cause the flare up there. This may be a pattern that we see going in the future, but the good news is the vaccinations are dropping the numbers of admissions definitely into the hospitals. And bottom line, those with this degree of vaccination and current infection, we're on the right track. And my only request of everybody is try and encourage everybody to be vaccinated. Those who don't want to be vaccinated are just endangering everybody else. And I see light at the end of the tunnel now, definitely. And with we've lasted a year. Another month is going to see us through this, in my opinion.
Dr. Levin, if you could help the council and the public that is watching, I've gotten a lot of questions as to the safeness of these vaccines. If you could kind of speak on that, of the safeness of these vaccines.
Sure. So the good news is for us is that we have several types of vaccines. We've got the Pfizer vaccine, we've got the Moderna vaccine, and we've got J&J vaccine. We do not have in this country the AstraZeneca vaccine. So let me just take off the table for those of you who may be thinking about the AstraZeneca vaccine, where there have been 220 cases of blood clot out of 36 million vaccines given, tiny proportion, but nevertheless a very real, pertinent, age-related side effect. You don't want to probably give those to kids who are in their teens or in their 20s. Certainly the risk of COVID with an AstraZeneca drug, with the AstraZeneca vaccine, is much higher than any side effect. Now, in the case of Moderna and Pfizer and J&J, all of us who've had that second vaccine, not J&J, Moderna and Pfizer, we all know you feel like some of us have had a baseball taken to the
yeah.
And it felt grim. But the reality is, I can say to you, the side effects are no worse than those for the vaccine for shingles.
Yeah.
And that's an important consideration. There are other rumors of other types of side effects. They really haven't been in any way substantiated. As I said to you at the last meeting, the number of side effects that you get from COVID are just devastating in comparison to this. So often what you hear in the press is a side effect. You have to ask one question. What is the number of cases that have occurred against the 72 million who have been fully vaccinated versus the versus the number of cases of the side effect. And the side effects are really, really small. That said, like any vaccine, you get a fever, you get a headache, you sometimes can feel nauseous after. The best case, I actually, some people say I'm going to do this on a day before I'm off because I know the next day I'm going to feel not so great. Other people just don't even feel it. So I can say to you, Mayor, that the overwhelming evidence today is that the side effects are trivial in comparison to the disorder, number one, and they are comparable to what you see with other vaccines.
And Dr. Levin, I've also had a few questions as particularly the Pfizer and the Moderna somehow changes your DNA. Could you speak to that?
Boy, if maybe I need my DNA changed. Impossible to do.
Pretty funny.
Absolutely impossible to do. The vaccine cannot, under any circumstances, it doesn't have any DNA in it, number one. Number two, the mRNA is actually made by DNA. It has no effect. It's a one-way street. So this thing, once it's in you, cannot go back and alter your DNA. Just functionally impossible. It's as if you basically were trying to put a back wheel of a tractor onto a automobile. You can't do it. Can't happen.
Thank you, Dr. Levin. Any questions for Dr. Levin? Chris?
Hey, Dr. Levin, thanks again for being here. Just two questions. One, I've had a question from people who actually had contracted symptomatic COVID, and there's a concern that getting the vaccine, especially the second dose, the reaction to that second dose might be worse for people who already had COVID versus others. Is there any data that supports that?
No. That one caveat on that, Chris, is that people who are vaccinated immediately afterward, people who've had COVID should wait for a period of time before they go for the vaccine. That's for sure. And there are many instances that I know of personally, which of course is anecdotal, of friends and family who've all had COVID and then got their second vaccine and are just fine. They have a reaction, no question, but it's no worse than I can assure you that I had.
Okay. And then the other question, and this is just kind of my curiosity, Canada seems to be going through, I don't know if surge is the right word or whatever, but I think Ontario is in a lockdown. And my understanding of the Canadian regulations, I mean, they've been, I think, very strict, more so than we have. Any idea what would be behind that?
It's the variants that are creeping over. When a virus starts to spread, naturally mutates, and it has a couple routes once it does that. In the case of COVID, it's chosen to become much more infective. So we have 3 or 4 variants that at this stage are very much more infective. And those just spread like wildfire. It's taken a couple months for the British variant to sweep across America. The second it does that, unless you are guarding against, unless you're protecting yourself or using normal separation of the kind of things that we've all got used to, that variant will infect you very fast. And that's what's happened. I believe that's what's happened in Michigan. It's not entirely clear that that is the case, but I believe that's what's occurred there. The same applies in New Jersey and the same in Canada. The real concern, Chris, is that, as I've said before, is that there are 2 kinds of mutation that happen. One that increases the infectivity, the other one that increases the virulence factors, the things that do you harm. And what we don't want to see, and this is why it's so important for everybody to get infected, you want to stop that second mutation happening. And so I don't like, I'm like you, I don't like hearing about this sudden flare-up in Ontario, sudden flare-up in Michigan, because what's cooking there is it's sort of like the Becker Valley with these it's a terrorist place. Basically, the virus has got a free range to mutate. You don't want that.
Thank you, Doctor.
Any other questions for Dr. Levin? Mary Jane?
Hi, Dr. Levin. Thank you again for being here for us and for all the people of New Milford. I know a lot of people have really appreciated your input. I have a question about the booster shot. Any ideas about when and if we're definitely going to be needing the booster shot, or what are you hearing?
So right now, there's actually no evidence one way or another. It's looking good, actually, Mary Jane. It's really interesting because, you know, we started out this whole event not knowing whether one shot was good, whether two shots. Mm-hmm. But now we find out that one shot really gives you a great deal of protection. And that's terrific. Then you have your second shot, and now you're up at your 95%. How long that lasts for appears to be pretty good. At the very least, we're looking at 6 months to plus at the very least. And I think that everybody's got their eye on that, because not only are you not seeing a need for a booster when you have the new variants come in, but we still are seeing very high levels of resistance. You know, I think some of the earliest are now, it's obviously only 4 or 5 months in, but we're seeing even people in the clinical trials, they're not don't need a booster. They aren't getting reinfected. A few are, but it's not a huge number, and then they don't have any symptoms anyway. So you know, that's the other side to this. That doesn't stop me. That, you know, I'm operating with half information as you are at the moment, but the best I can tell, we don't see any evidence yet that you'll need an immediate booster. I suspect that we will probably require one, given that if we can't crush this and make it go away completely, which is unlikely, and it starts behaving like flu, then it's going to be a flu booster kind of a situation. Now, what we do know is that Moderna is already manufacturing, and I suspect Pfizer the same, boosters which are specifically against the variants. So we know they're doing that. And like I said to you at the beginning of all of this, it takes 6 months for them to get that ready, which is really fast. And my anticipation is that if we do need boosters, it will be a booster given against a variant.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I do think you should feel good about this. We are in the right trajectory, so long as people behave. And if we can just hold on a little while longer, another month, we'll really be able to see results.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think that's the key. It's all about people still cooperating and wearing a mask and washing your hands and, you know, social distancing. I mean, it's nice to be able to get together with people who are vaccinated, but we still have to be careful, you know. It's,
Yep.
Mike?
Yep. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Dr. Levin, for keeping us informed as always. So if I'm hearing you correctly, those that are vaccinated have a better chance of not contracting the variants.
Yes, that's correct. The vaccines are, well, it's not a better chance, that the vaccines are effective against the variants.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Levin? Thank you, Dr. Levin.
Thank you, Dr. Levin.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Dr. Levin.
Thank you. Next item, number 7, we have an update from our health director, Lisa Morrissey.
Katie, I thought we were going to do a mayor's comments.
After Director
Lisa.
of Health, right, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to do a brief synopsis of where we are with our COVID-19 vaccination campaign. So first off, just under 42% of the town has been vaccinated, and very close to 100% of people over 65 who want to be vaccinated have been. We still continue to get a couple of people who were not vaccinated, and we've been very successful at getting them scheduled very quickly. Last week, the health department did just about 1,600 vaccinations. And tomorrow marks a major milestone for us. So tomorrow is the 5th week of our clinic, and it also tomorrow will be the day that we surpass 5,000 vaccines that our clinic has conducted. So that's a huge achievement for our health department. We've this week begun to vaccinate persons that are 16 and above. So we are starting teenagers, and we are also making plans to begin vaccinating 12-year-olds and plus. We're anticipating that the FDA approval will happen next month. We've been advised by Connecticut Department of Public Health that they expect it'll happen pretty quickly. So we're starting to get our plans underway so that we can readily accept all of the younger teens, or the tweens as I call them, into the clinic. So we're preparing for that. We've been doing really well with volunteer recruitment. I have to give thanks to the many, many volunteers. We had a little joke yesterday and Saturday at the clinic, but we were talking about the numbers that we're doing at our clinic really are rivaling the daily throughput at the site at the mall, except we don't have the benefit of the National Guard. We have an army of volunteers to pull off the same feat. So it really is credit to the town that with the help of all of our volunteers that we are able to get so many people vaccinated. We're anticipating that we're going to continue with similar trends. We're trying to increase our throughput hourly instead of having more clinics per week, but it seems like we may have to add one clinic a week as the demand grows over the next couple of weeks. I had also shared with the mayor as well as in our health department leadership team. I think the demand will probably fall off right after we start vaccinating that 12-year-olds group until it's time for either boosters, or if the vaccine is approved for even younger populations, we're going to hit a point of saturation with the number of people who want to be vaccinated that are eligible to be vaccinated fairly shortly. And so I think these are all really great things. As Dr. Levin said, the key piece right now is to really encourage folks to go out there and get vaccinated. But in that message, we also don't want to lose the importance of socially distancing, wearing a mask, staying home when you don't feel well, and getting tested, as we saw that we had an uptick over the last couple of weeks, which were directly related to a couple of very well-defined outbreaks. And the cases are starting to slow down from that. We're seeing the secondary and tertiary cases from that fade, but it does highlight the importance as to while the state is opening up and the weather is getting nicer and it's easier to socialize, people feel a lot more footloose and fancy free because we do have the vaccines in our community, but it does not absolve us from using all of the other mitigation strategies that we do have at hand. So just wanted to keep reminding people to get tested, minimize as many social activities as we can, wear a mask, and proper practice that hand hygiene, because those are all things that we need to be doing still, even with the vaccine in the community. Thank you.
Any questions for Lisa? Chris?
Hi, Lisa. So first of all, I'd really like to applaud your efforts and that of your team. I've gotten both my shots in the town clinic, and each time it's just run so smoothly and very well organized. And I've even talked to some of the volunteers who are sticking needles in our arms, and they say that it's been very well organized. I think they've mentioned an app that we've come up with so they can schedule their time slots, and so it's just a wonderful job by you and your team. And I would also applaud the volunteers, and I think Councilwoman Francis has been key in recruiting a lot of volunteers, and there really is an army. So it's a great thing that you're doing. So two questions. There's a lot in the press about J&J production issues. Are you seeing a shortage? Because I think, is that the one we're using for the younger kids, the 17, 18-year-old?
I'm sorry. Oh,
that's Pfizer. Okay. So are you seeing a shortage of J&J?
We are seeing a shortage of J&J. So most of the J&J that's being distributed right now is actually going through the federal pharmacy and federally qualified health center program, and it's not coming out to other entities. So we're seeing a lot of that going to our retail pharmacies as well as our federally qualified health centers. overall, we're not seeing a decrease in the amount of vaccine we're receiving because we had a bump of the Pfizer available to us. So while we have fewer J&J, we did receive, an additional Pfizer, so that we haven't been impacted as being able to vaccinate people. It's just really the product mix. To that end, I think I should say that another big feather in the cap for our clinic is that we've now vaccinated with all 3 vaccine products, Moderna, J&J, and Pfizer. So we are proving once again that New Milford knows how to get it done.
Yeah, very good. And then lastly, I know you mentioned you think there's going to be a saturation coming up. I mean, do you still see yourself having clinics, say, by the end of May?
I think so. I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see probably sometime in May they give the approval for, that group that 12 to 16. So we're going to see that influx. And then once we finish vaccinate them, we really would have gotten the bulk of people who are eligible. What we'll have to do is wait for the next group to go down. So they're still doing studies going as young as 5 years of age. So when they're available to vaccinate, we're going to see another round of people who want to get their children vaccinated. So it's going to come and go in waves. So we're really going to be, every time that they say that there's a new eligible group or a booster available, we're going to see an influx of people who are looking to get vaccinated. But in between, we're going to see lows because we've vaccinated so many people. And if you look at the scheduling systems out there now, compared to where we were 4 weeks ago, even though it's still difficult to get an appointment at times, it's still a lot easier and a lot faster to get an appointment now than it was 4 weeks ago.
Great. Thanks again for all your efforts.
Mike?
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for everything. I had just a comment on, I just was talking to a couple of soccer coaches, and they're saying that New Milford is making kids wear masks outside playing soccer. And I was just curious what the science and rationale behind that was.
Certainly, I'm happy to discuss that. So there are a couple of pieces there. So the guidance from the CDC, as long as mirroring the guidance from the State Department of Public Health, does encourage the use of masking during youth sports, which is something that we've been consistent with the messaging. I know that there was some concern from some of the parents and families about the oxygen levels in children while they're playing. And the studies that are available and that we have sent out to folks do demonstrate that there is no impact to the blood oxygen saturation levels from using those masks. And to further on that, the other piece of that is that when we do say that they don't have to wear masks, what we have seen across the state and across the nation is that it also laxes it on the sidelines. And that there is more socializing happening before, after the games and during the breaks where they're not wearing masks. So we're really just trying to encourage folks to keep their masks on and keep the masks on the kids as much as possible to really try to reduce the transmission during those lulls.
Has there been studies showing that we've had transmission of youth sports outside in games like soccer? Because I haven't seen any of those statistics of spread during those games.
So we do know that, and we have had, like I said, the documentation have come out from the CDC and the state, as well as what we've seen here within Connecticut. We are seeing transmission during youth sports, like I said.
No, but those are indoors.
It is indoor and outdoor. So outdoor reduces the odds, but it doesn't eliminate it. So if we were able to eliminate the risk altogether, we wouldn't be in this predicament that we're in right now. So playing outdoors reduces it, but it does not eliminate it.
It reduces it pretty far. I mean, we didn't have any issues in the fall. In the fall, we had a bigger issue in that there was no vaccines out. Now it seems like all the elderly and at-risk people have gotten their vaccines. It just seems that outside in the sun, the chance of catching it while they're playing is next to none. And I
wish that I could agree with you, Mike, but I also was one of those people who was doing contact tracing and going through the cases. And I could tell you last summer, we did have a lot of cases of COVID-19 throughout the state. And we did have cases that were associated with sports that were playing outdoors as well.
I'd like to see those studies.
I think that we're going to get to the point where we can, start relaxing some of those things. But as we're seeing cases in youth sports increase with COVID-19 cases, and we're seeing an increase in cases, in our young adults, I don't think we're quite there yet, but I'm hoping that we're going to get there soon.
Can you get me those cases of spread during outside sports activities, please?
Across the state, I believe it's on ct.gov on their data piece. I can send you the link. And the state is also tracking transmission in sports. And I believe that they have that up there as well. So I can send you that link.
I'd love to see it because I have not seen it or heard it, and I'm very involved in youth sports.
Any other questions for Lisa? Doug?
Not a question, just a quick thank you to Lisa and her staff. I was there a couple of Saturdays ago, and it ran smoothly. Jen, her assistant over there, and of course the fearless team leader, Councilwoman Francis, was there directing traffic and helping out as well. So I wanted to thank not only Lisa and the volunteers and the workers, but also the many people that made it go smoothly. So thank you all.
Thank you, Doug.
It's a huge team lift, and I really have to give kudos to Councilwoman Francis as well as all of the volunteers and my staff, because, you know, without all of the people and all of the hands that it takes, we would not be able to do it. So I thank everyone tremendously.
Any other questions for Lisa? Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you,
Appreciate the
Lisa.
update.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Mayor's comments?
Thank you, Katie. In speaking with our health director, Lisa Morrissey, earlier today, our total confirmed COVID cases, and as we say, each time we update these are in no means how many are currently confirmed cases. It is totality since the state began compiling the numbers. So the state of Connecticut is at 298,941. Litchfield County is at 12,139. That's up 108 from Friday. Hospitalizations for the entire county is at 15, which is up 4 from Friday. New Milford is at 2,266, which is up 15 from Friday. And as Lisa said before, those numbers are trending lower as we did have those 2 clusters, and they seem to be working through their cohorts. And we're going to continue to monitor those on a daily basis as well. What we do ask everyone is what was said a couple of times earlier tonight. First is if you're exhibiting any symptoms of COVID-19, please do not go to work. And we are off this week. The schools are for school. But when you do go back to school after remote, which is week after next, and your child is exhibiting any symptoms of COVID, please do not send them to school. If you're yourself exhibiting the symptoms, please call your primary doctor and please get tested. Please continue to wear a mask, socially distance, and follow the hand hygiene protocols. These are very, very important, as it's all been talked about this whole evening, that this is the important things that we can do to help mitigate the increase that we have been seeing. As far as additional COVID vaccine clinics for our veterans, and anyone that served in the military or a veteran spouse or a veteran caregiver, the VA is doing vaccines as well. And they are walk-ups on April 13th from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. The Newington campus at 555 Willard Avenue. On April 14th through the 16th from 8 a.m. to 3:30 is at the West Haven campus, which is 950 Campbell Avenue. And from the 15th as well, they're doing it at the Newington campus, 555 Willard Avenue. And also on April 17th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Harding High School in Bridgeport. Also, we have, as we know, there's also commercial entities that are also doing the vaccinations, whether it be Walgreens, Walmart. There's other available areas if you so choose to get vaccinated. So please check their websites. You can also go to the town's www.newmilford.org and the red banner. Click there to make an appointment as well. Or you can also go into VAMS. So it's beginning to say, as our health director, Lisa Morrissey, said, there's beginning to be more choices if you choose to get vaccinated, Also today starts the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. And we'd like to thank our emergency dispatchers for all the hard work they do 24/7. And I've seen firsthand during weather emergencies, whether it be fire emergencies, all sorts of emergencies, they're the first really voice that people hear, and we can't thank them enough for all their efforts. and keeping us safe. So thank you. On April 27th, we'll be having a drug take-back day, and that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the New Milford Senior Center. It's going to be a drive-through event, and we'd like to thank the Senior Center, our New Milford Police Department, New Milford C Triad, and New Milford Can, all working together for this effort to take unused drugs off people's hands, especially seniors, those that their medication may be done and they just leave them there. There's been chances where younger people that do go in and visit with them sometimes do take that medication. So it's very important that we do get that medication off of the shelves and properly disposed of. Last week on April 7th was a Paraprofessional Appreciation Day. So I'd like to thank all of our paraeducators last week for everything they do within our school system, for helping our children, helping our teachers and administrators. So thank you for everything that you do. I'd like to congratulate our New Milford High School Green Wave dancers for placing third in the Ward Dance Jam, the hip hop division. So congratulations, ladies. Great job. And also on Saturday, I was at New Milford High School for their opening day for athletics, and it was great to see all those fields being in use and seeing the youth and the parents enjoying a beautiful day, getting a lot of exercise, and it was great. Also, roads update. We're beginning our 4th year, and Chairman Whitman will be updating us this evening on the program. I'd just like to thank our DPW team and our contractors all for doing a stellar job these last 3 years and beginning this year. Also, want to thank our roads committee and Chairman Whitman. We'll be talking in just a moment. In speaking with our finance director, Greg Asapow, first of all, Greg, hope you're feeling a little bit better. Our bond counsel, Glenn Rybeck, has moved to a different law firm of Pullman and Comley. And Greg has stated that we will continue with the same representation, which is Attorney Rybeck. So he just wanted to inform the council. And also,
clarification. So
yes.
we're going with Pullman and Comley then?
Yep, it's the same attorney. Yes, Dave. Thanks.
Okay.
On speaking with our economic development, I want to thank our DPW team as we here again are going to do outside dining as we did last year. So the DPW team put some of the Jersey barriers out as the restaurants were very appreciative last year of the availability for additional opportunities for their customers to eat outside if some are feeling hesitant. And also, even though we are at 100% capacity, that for some includes a 6-foot distancing. So that doesn't really make it 100%. So this will be another opportunity for our restaurants. We will also be doing, as we did last year, closing down Bank Street on Friday night and Saturday nights as well to allow for some additional spreading out for some of the restaurants. And we'll be keeping the council apprised of that as well. We'd also like to congratulate Taste of Rio, which opened, and they're at the former Dunkin' Donuts at 12 Danbury Road. And that's the authentic Brazilian buffet and grill. If you get a chance to go down there and say hi and patronize our new establishment, it's great to see another new business open in New Milford. Also, library construction continues. As we stated before, it's an 18-month project. The tentative date is the 3rd week in January for it to be completed. As you can see, the crane was there today as they're erecting additional steel in the middle portion of the library. And we'll have more information as it comes forward. And thank you to Steve Vasquez, our clerk of the works, and our contractor for all their work and all their efforts. And thank you, Councilwoman Francis, as we talk to the contractor each and every Thursday to keep it on task and on point. Also would like to tell the council that we awarded the bid for the town hall roof, and that project will be coming to fruition shortly. And that will be a standing seam roof, and we're excited about that project getting underway. The high school roof, we're finishing up some of the legwork for that. We're looking to get that done hopefully late spring, early summer, depending on the contractor's availability and when the school would, we want to make sure dovetails with our students as well. And I'll have more information on that as we move forward with that. And I know Mike had talked a little bit about budget, so we'll move forward with that. As we are beginning to reopen, Town Hall has been reopened for people to come in. We ask that everyone wear a mask, social distancing. All of our employees are required to wear masks when they're in a room with people that aren't vaccinated or with the public at large. And the Governor Lamont is going to be issuing new guidance as far as municipal meetings. And once we get that guidance, it's supposed to be on Wednesday. I'll follow up with the council as to when we're going to formally start meeting in a hybrid model, such as the Board of Education is doing. I'll have more information, I hope, on that towards the end of the week. And lastly, there's been some conjecture and some talk about the Chamber of Commerce's Village Fair Days, which has been canceled this year. And speaking with Denise, kind of the reasoning for that was manifold, but some of the major hurdles that they were facing was first, new guidance had come out only in the last few weeks about being able to do festivals and fairs. And this is something that takes the chamber quite some time to put together. Also, the chamber has the booths that are tied together. And how would that work, for them as far as 6 foot distancing when it comes to that? So they just want to decide on the air of caution, and then they'll be back next year. It was something they thought very deeply about, but they just thought with some of the milestones that they would have to do, they didn't feel that it would be something they'd be able to do in the appropriate manner. So we just want to thank the Chamber for all their years' efforts in doing Village Fair Days. We will have different events that will be coming forward in the coming months as well, but I just wanted to update the council on that. And that's all I have, Katie.
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Since we've had excellent reporting from Lisa and Dr. Levin, we've had wonderful volunteers, and I thought I knew all the wonderful people in our town. I've met some that are just selfless beyond belief. But here's the thing. We do need, as Lisa said, to pick up the pace if we're going to get everybody done in a timely manner. And if that occurs, when that occurs, we need some new people to volunteer. I do have a few people every week that will email. I have you, Mary Jane. I know Mary Jane's
well, I'll
coming
tell
up.
you, I contacted the person you told me to, and I got no response back.
Mary Jane, I replied back to you. I got your email and I wrote back to you.
I know, and I got a hold of Heidi and I've heard nothing.
But I'm the person that wrote back to you. You don't want to volunteer on one side? You want to do shots?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you have to talk to Heidi. But anyway, I just wanted to say to the council and the community that's listening, there's lots of things to do. You don't have to know how to give a vaccination. There's all kinds of things to do. You can move around, you can sit down, if you can type, just as long as you're 17 or older. And it's a wonderful group of people. So we have an email, nmvolunteers@newmilford.org. Easy to remember. It's on the town website. But I encourage you, help our community. Many people are, and it's all for the common good. So if you have any interest, anytime, if you could just put a few hours in on a Tuesday or a Wednesday afternoon, or maybe a Saturday, please just send an email and let me know that you're interested, and I'll reach out to you. Mary Jane, I'll send an email to Heidi to let her know.
Thank you. I'm happy to help. So
I know you are. Yeah. I'll let her know.
Okay. Thank you.
And one more time, Katie, what is the email so that everyone...
The email is NM, as in New Milford, but it's just the NM volunteers, which is what we need, at newmilford.org. And it's you can go on the town website. It's there if you forget.
And
thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely stellar job to all you guys. I've been there several times. It's just such a wonderful... how you guys have that dialed in. It's just amazing. And getting 5,000 people through there to get vaccinated is truly amazing. So,
yeah, so it's definitely a well-oiled machine. And
absolutely.
I'll be reaching out to you, Katie.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have John Whitman from the Roads Committee. going to give us an update?
Mike, can you unmute John, please?
Yeah, I think he's on just John. It's just John. Just want to be sure.
That's John. There he is.
Okay. And I need my video.
All right.
I can't unmute it.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. There you go.
Start my video. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Bass, esteemed members of the council, and Mike. Thank you for running point on the presentation. Stephanie, good to see you there, and members of the public. And that was a great update that I was listening to. And wow, what stuff's going on in this town, huh? It's fantastic. It's just wow. It's just, I listen to a lot of the town council meetings, and I'm just awed at the amount of volunteerism and public service that everybody gives. So thank you so very much. Mike, if you would, I'll give you the cues. If you would kindly put up the first slide and leave it up there just for now. And
you got it.
Okay, I just need to get my, there you go. Okay. Oh, and there's the dog. That's not mine. Over the past 4 years or so, the Municipal Roads Committee and the Milford Department of Public Works team, we've succeeded in rebuilding an unprecedented number of town roads. And never before in so many miles of the town's worst condition roadway infrastructure have been identified, categorized, designed, and built in such a short period of time, 4 years, 4.5 years. Yet none of this would have been possible, remotely possible, without your support and, of course, the strong financial health of our town. And some of the worst conditioned roads were also some of the most heavily traveled roads that have become maintenance headaches due to the road's inability to sustain any lasting repairs. It was time to move past just promises, way past promises to the town residents, and that someday, somehow, their roads would be properly addressed. So with a great team, a super team at the DPW, we embarked on a multi-year plan to address the worst performing high traffic roads first and finish up with the lower traffic, but also poor condition roads towards the end. That was and remains a great plan, and only a great plan if one important component is added, and that is ongoing and scheduled follow-up maintenance. No longer would a newly rebuilt 15 or 20 year life expectancy road be left unattended until it needed to be rebuilt again. And that made perfect common sense regarding economics and resident satisfaction. And a few of our major accomplishments are Second Hill Road, Pickett District Road, Fordyce Road, Long Mountain Road, and Squire Hill Road, which was an absolute nightmare to travel for our dedicated school bus drivers. And I will tell you, it's been and remains an honor to serve with the DPW, Jack Healy, Mark Rosa, Mike Boucher, and all the folks there, and members of my committee, Vice Chairman John Oakes, Secretary Geraldine Legovitz, a professional engineer, and a local New Milfordite engineer, Tom Ultimat, and contractor Joe Goodell. The committee members have a managerial, organizational, financial, and engineering skill set that makes it for a perfect fit with the talented team members of the DPW. Absolutely. And for this construction season, we continue with our aggressive plan of attending to the town roads. So Mike, if you would give me the next slide. Okay, where are we with this season's road construction? On March 30th and 31st, 2021, the DPW and the Municipal Roads Committee held public meetings and to hear from the Milford residents who reside on the roads planned for rehabilitation this year in 2021. We wanted to know specifics about each road that may not be apparent to us. For instance, drainage problems, icy spots, site distance issues, etc. And we also asked that comments and questions be sent to us by using the new SeatClick Fix. You see that on the side of the town trucks? You've seen that big nice thing on the side of the town trucks? On our homepage, milford.org/DPW. And resident feedback is now being assessed for incorporation into the engineering of each road. Next going, Mike. Great, thank you. West Street, there you go. West Street is happening right tomorrow. We're starting to mill it. And some of the things we looked on West Street, automatically where are the manhole covers, where are the drainage covers, where are the sewer commission covers, and that was addressed. They were all marked, and some of the ones are going to be raised and taken care of. Jotham Road, Twin Ridge Road had some beautiful drainage done on it years ago, and just because of funding and the inability to do so, which now we are taking care of, the town is doing a great job. That road is being taken care of, and the new drainage is going to be incorporated. New Bridge Road, Browns Forge Road, Station Road, River Road, which is a disaster in many spots, and that's going to be taken care of. Long Mountain Road, we did 3, and we kept on going, and that thing's going to be beautiful all the way up. Burnham Road and Fox Ridge Road and Fox Ridge Drive, and all of that is going to be done. Next slide, please, Mike. Additionally, Poplar Street Extension, Dorset Drive. Right now, the drainage crew that was awarded the bid is working on Dorset. And we expect them to be rehabilitating that road probably within the next week or so, assuming that the drainage keeps going okay. North Valley Road, Vista, Gregory, White Swan, Woodbridge, Sawyer Hill Road. Sawyer Hill Road has been needed to be done for quite a long time. And it has really needed to be done. And there are some areas that we may have to box out, may have to do some reconstruction and not just reclaiming. So that is being really looked at. There's a lot of traffic on that road, and there's some areas you really have to go slow. You really have to go slow because of the washboardness of it. But that's being done, and also New Preston Hill Road, which is kind of part of that. Cobbler Lane, Charterhouse Road, Brentwood Road. Oh my goodness gracious. That has not been done for 40 some odd years, 40 some odd years. And there was a tremendous amount of drainage work that was done on there because of some bad conditions on Brentwood specifically, where the road was so dangerous that it had to be blocked off, where the snowplows, it was dangerous for them to drive down the one side of that road. That has all been fixed. It has been done masterfully by the town's contractor, Brentwood, and also Cobbler. That drainage work has been done. The roads are ready to be rehabilitated. It's been quite a long time. We promised that to the town residents based on budgets for about 3 years. No fault of anyone. It's just a matter of finances. We are now able to take care of a lot of things, and that all happened about 4 years ago. And thank you to the administration and the town council that it's all taking place. Next slide, please, Mike. Here's our schedule, and I will very readily supply this to Pat to get this out to the council so you can see this, the schedules. It's kind of hard to see there, but we have some red dots there that indicate drainage work. And there are various things that we're going to do on each road. Each road is unique. It's not a cookie cutter process. And this I'll get out to you so you can see. This is preliminary, and it all depends on weather. The contractor owns the weather. We don't. The contractor owns the weather. It has to be done by a certain period of time. We are desperately trying not to do any paving in November, trying to cut everything on October 31st. We have a very good period of time prior to Thanksgiving. We'll probably extend the envelope, but we're trying to do as much as we possibly can, as budgets allow, in the warmer periods of the year to make that pavement the best it possibly can. Mike, next, please. And this is just another indication that these roads, which were split up between Asphalt Repair Solutions and Connecticut Seal Coating, they were kind of split. And this one has a little bit more drainage on it. And you can see Cobbler and Charterhouse and Brentwood. And the reason there's some red on Charterhouse and Brentwood is that the major issues on that development were taken care of. But there is some under drain needed that takes the water from the hill on the east side of the road and takes that and puts it into a drainage system before it washes the road out again, which is what happened over the last 40 years since this development has been in existence. So that's why there's some more red indications on here. Mike, next, please. So we're going to do pavement improvements. We're going to do drainage upgrades. We're going to do curb replacement. I know that we've had a lot of consternation on some folks that have come to public meetings about curb replacement, and we're very cognizant of where it needs to be, and where it would be nice to be, but we can do different things. So we're very cognizant about that. New catch basin tops, maybe replacing the basin itself if necessary. Sign replacements that are very necessary for public safety, and line striping as it makes sense. Next one, Mike, please. Okay, these are things you've all seen before. I've been up before the council many years, but patching, transverse longitudinal cracking, longitudinal cracking, these are some of the things you see. Next one, Mike. Pavement distress, utility patches. Oh my goodness, we got utility patches. We've got utility patches on some new roads, and we're trying desperately to not let that happen. But as we all know, sometimes it does, and it's best we do at going ahead of it, and going ahead of the process with the state and with the town, and not the town, but with the all of the roads, that we do the best we can not to let that happen, but it still does. And that sometimes sinks because of inadequate compression. Alligator cracking, that happens in this development that I live in. Pavement raveling, we saw some pavement raveling even after a few years after some roads were done, because of perhaps done late in the year. We're trying not to ever let that happen again. And road heaving because of the subbase not properly not properly installed initially, or because of the road has not been done in 40 or 50 years. Next, Mike. Puddles. Oh yeah, we've seen the puddles. They're great, aren't they? Aren't they great in the winter? We took care of one. Thank you. Aren't they great in the winter? We took care of one. Thank you to Jack Healy and his crew, Mike Boucher specifically, and out there by Dunkin' Donuts on Averly, and where they took care of that. And there was a tremendous icing problem down all the way down the road to Good Hill, and they took care of that because of puddles, because it couldn't drain. Those are the things we're trying to take care of with proper drainage, with under drain, and also proper crowning of the roads. Missing curb line, there's an example of where under drain may work. If you can't get a curb line, you can get under drain in there, where you can get the water to seep down in below and hit a pavement line before it hits the pavement. Obviously, curbing would be the best way, but under drain and curbing would be the optimal. Keep going, Mike, please.
Excuse me, folks.
While Mike is going, are there any questions in the little? I'm almost done.
Chris?
Hey, John. Thanks so much for your work. I think what you guys are doing with the DPW is tremendous. Very thankful for the work you all do. Just a couple questions so far. You mentioned public meetings for people on roads that are going to be worked on this year. How much feedback did you get?
We did not get a lot, Chris, and I think it's because we presented it so such a full content, what we were going to do, and some of these roads that people had seen before. But I believe, Chris, it was that we gave them a lot of information, and I will be honest that the comments we got were thank yous. So there have been a few things that came through for a see, click, fix, which we wanted them to do, and those are being addressed right now. But there aren't many, Chris.
Great. I'll let you get back to that.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for the question. Okay, and no crown in the road, boy. There's some areas up on Long Mountain, the very top where we're going to do. There's no crown, and of course that just sits right across the top of the road. Just sits right across the top of the road, ices up, and some sinking manholes. That's a real dangerous one, especially for somebody who's walking, right, or walking their dog. And those are the type of things we're going to fix. Only one more slide on this stuff. Keep going, Mike.
Oh.
There you go. So pavement milling. That's what we're going to be doing on West Street. We're going to mill the pavement. That means we're going to, we've ascertained that the sub base is good enough to retain a new surface for a fair amount of time. And of course, we're going back to what I said prior. That's with continuing maintenance. And then install new pavement on top of that mill to reclaim surface. And there's reclaiming where we chew up the pavement, chew up the sub base, and then we get it right back down, and we actually create a whole new sub base and a new pavement ready surface. Keep going, Mike. And drainage improvements on the left hand side, you'll see some of the things we did on that's not exactly Brentwood, I should say cobbler. But that is some of the things we do. There's your drainage coming along the side, and that'll also pick up under drain. That'll pick up that hill, the slope of that hill. That'll go right into that drain, hit that perforated pipe in the bottom, and go right down at the bottom. And there's some of your new under drain on the right hand side. And then the install new catch basin tops, and you've seen a lot of those. And one of those examples is Twin Ridge, which Twin Ridge was done a while ago, and because of budget constraints, we weren't able to go in and finish the road. And now we're trying to do everything in one shot, and a lot of that work is being done by the DPW in concert with the contractor when the contractor goes out and does the repaving and the reclaiming. So last slide, please, Chris. Mike. Okay, so what we did was reminded everybody that to please use the See, Click, Fix feature on the DPW web page, and we gave them the link, or get the See, Click, Fix app on your iPhone, your cell phone. And also on our Facebook page, it's also a good place to see what's going on. And there we give them the address as well. And if they prefer calling, get our wonderful Naya or Lorraine on the phone, they can call or email the Public Works Department. And again, I want to just say that it goes well beyond cooperation. It's the team with a capital T that we have with the DPW, with the mayor's office, with the town council, and all the people that support this effort that is making this a reality after so many years. And that for the last 4 years or so, we've been making tremendous strides. And there's no end in sight until we get this all fixed. And then when it's all fixed, it means we've already gone back to the beginning and maintained the roads that we started first. So there you go, folks. Are there any other questions, please?
Chris?
Yep, just a couple more. On your schedule, you noted, I think, resurfacing and drainage. The amount of drainage work that you're doing this year, is it comparable to what you've done in past years? Are we catching up on some of the poor drainage?
We're doing drainage on the roads that we have projected for construction this year. Whereas in years past, Chris, we may have only milled those roads and repaved those. What we're doing now is making sure that our investment on pavement is not compromised by poor drainage that we didn't do in like 10, 15, whatever years ago. So that's what we're doing. If there's a road that needs drainage, if there's a road that needs reconstruction, paving, whatever, we're doing the drainage.
Good.
And then also, Chris, first, Mike, can you unmute Jack Healy, our DPW director? And then also to answer your question, Chris, proactively too, when the driver's out, let's say they're doing their snow route or they're doing their regular route, whether it's pushing back brush or garbage, when they see, say, water flowing over the course of the road, they'll put that into Cartograph. And I know Jack and Mike actually have a maintenance program as well, where they'll do additional drainage on those roads, especially when it comes to icing, which has been extremely successful this year. That helps eliminate the need for the driver to go back out to resalt, to re-ice that we had to do years prior, which cost OT and material time.
Mayor, thank you very much. And April down by the Dunkin' Donuts is a prime example of that, where people put it in, it was identified, and it was fixed. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And then one last question regarding drainage, and John, I don't know if maybe Mayor, you know the answer to this, because I think one of your social media posts recently, you were showing pictures where we're repairing catch basins. I don't know if we're replacing them, but there were ones that were damaged. Were those ones that were recently installed, or were those old ones that had been in for quite some time?
So there's some that we have been doing that are older. As John had said, some of those are roads like Dorset we're doing now. That's one of the ones I posted. That's a road that we're getting ready to redo.
Okay.
So they're taking the catch basins and actually doing proactive work to that.
Yep. Great. Thank you. And great job, John and Jack and Mike at DPW. And I can see that what you all have is a real partnership, and that's the people of the town benefit from that. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And it is a true partnership, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Mike?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the pothole machine. Is that still worth the money we spent on? It's doing well.
Mike, can you unmute Jack? So we've done over 45,000 potholes so far, Mike, and it's definitely a tremendous return on investment. Prior to that, we were having 6 people fill the potholes with what's called cold patch. And basically when you filled it, by the time they left and went to the next one, the fill was already gone. So this we're only using 1 person versus 6. And those pothole fills are done. The machine blows it out, puts the tap coat down, which is the glue, then puts the emulsion down, and it seems to hold very, very well. So it's been a very, very big asset. And I know, Jack, if you'd like to opine on that as well.
Yeah, I think you did a good job there. I would say, Mike, a good way of judging is in the past when we would use cold patch, we put it in on a Monday morning. On Tuesday morning, we get a call from someone saying the hole's back. We don't get the return calls anymore, and that's a good way of judging it. I don't think we've gotten 1 or 2 calls to come back and repair a pothole once we've patched it using a piece of equipment. We've also gotten calls from other departments asking if they can come and see what we do. We've even had one department ask if we would consider going and doing some work in their town. It's worked very well. It does save us a lot of time. We're not sending crews out with trucks patching potholes throughout the winter.
And the reliability of the machine is going pretty well. It's making it through the season without too many repairs.
Yep, it did. We're getting better with it. I mean, the first year we had a couple of times we didn't get up to temperature, or we had a problem with the hose. This last year, I don't think it was down, but a couple days, normal maintenance. We're getting much better with it. The operator is getting very comfortable in operating the equipment.
And what's our lifespan of that, roughly?
Of the truck?
Yeah.
Well, like I would say, and I don't really have a good figure for you, but typically DPW trucks are good for 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
That's an estimate on my part.
Thank you.
Stephanie, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I heard John, I think, say he was going to send the presentation to Pat. Can I please get that as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John? Thank you, John. We appreciate the update, sir.
Thanks, John. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Great
Thank you,
presentation. Thank you. Item 9, Mayor, presentation from Doreen Hamilton of ESG, update on our energy performance contracts.
Mike,
Doreen?
could you,
There you are.
unmute Doreen? And Jack Healy is our point of contact here for the town as well.
You want me to unmute Jack too?
Yes, please.
Hi there. Would you be so kind as to unmute Ed Daly, Christian Michelle, and Steve Wells as well? And good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us.
And Mike, could you also allow video if they so choose?
Yes,
yeah,
please.
Just please speak up if you'd like to have video. I don't have an option for Steve Wells. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe Steve Wells, if you could maybe leave the meeting and come back, maybe that'll get the technicals straightened out.
Hi, Mike. This is Christian. Can you can I start my video?
Christian.
And to Doreen as well.
Yes, please.
Mike, and if it's easy for you, Ed Daly also. Thank you.
And before we begin, I'd love to volunteer. Ms. Francis,
Great.
count me in. And I've got 4 able-bodied children coming back from college. One's already back. So I've got some
Bring them along.
18 to 22-year-olds to man desks.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Great.
It sounds like a challenge to Mr. Daly and Christian.
I've only got 2. I know better than this keep up.
All good. All goodness. So, Mike, can I share my presentation? Is that okay?
Yeah, let me make you a co-host so you can do that.
Oh, thank you.
Joe, while Mike is doing that, should we introduce ourselves?
Yes, please. And please tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
So good evening. My name is Ed Daly, and I'm the sponsor for our organization supporting the NV5 team and Doreen Hamilton to make sure that we provide exactly what this community is looking for from us, guaranteed solutions. Doreen?
Hi, I'm with Energy Systems Group, and I've been working in energy conservation and infrastructure improvements for 31 years. We've really enjoyed being part of your team as we've gone through your buildings, as we've asked probably a million questions of Jack Healy, of the school department, and dug deep into your buildings, into your energy usage and how you buy and sell and use energy. Very excited about this project and look forward to bringing this to you. Christian?
Sure. My name is Christian Michelle. I'm the lead engineer for this project. I'm the one who's been asking all the annoying questions. I manage development engineering for ESG for Southern New England. And I think
Steve Wells, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so Mike's suggestion of leaving and coming back worked, so thank you, Mike. So I'm Steve Wells. I'm the Executive Director of Engineering for NV5. NV5 is the town's independent owner's representative for this project. I myself, I've been doing energy projects. This is my 41st year. So I started when I was in second grade.
Really?
So NV5, the group that I work for, that's primarily what we do. We're independent owners representatives on these types of projects. We currently have probably between 80 and 100 projects throughout the US and throughout the Far East and Europe. Projects total probably about $3 billion. So they range in size from a couple million up to 250 million. So for this particular project, I've been the prime technical subject matter expert, reviewing what ESG has been providing to the town as far as their energy baseline, which is what the town is currently consuming for energy. And we've gone through a pretty collaborative effort of different reviews of their audit and reporting of the energy project. So me and my team, and I have several engineers that support me, go through all the documentation that ESG provides to the town and to NV5, and we verify that, number one, they're using good sound practices. Number two, that the information that they're providing us is substantiated and is being reported accurately. And then we go through the calculations for energy savings. We look at the technology to make sure that it's a good fit. And we have quite a bit of dialogue back and forth while we've been doing this. So again, you know, I work for the town, and I'm an independent, and I'm looking forward to seeing this project move forward. So back to you, Doreen.
Wonderful, Steve. So I want to know if you want to go through your slide. I put you on slide 2 of your presentation. You just went through the organizational structure. You went through who NV5 is and what you do and work with the town. I think on the 4th slide, it talks about the process that you and New Milford went through to get to the place where we are today, and the documentation, and you're co-authoring this proposal and doing a feasibility study for the town. I'm not sure if you want to go into any more depth on that slide number 4, or what performance contracting is, slide number 5.
Yeah, I gladly go through this. So performance contracting is a tried and true process. the federal government, matter of fact, has an executive order, which means the President of the United States has signed an order. And that was, I think, the first one that did that was back in the first Bush days. And subsequent presidents have renewed that order. And it provides a means of upgrading facilities, addressing capital, end-of-life capital issues, unpleasant environments within facilities, and wasteful energy usage. And the Federal Energy Management Program, FEMP, put together a very structured process for ESCOs. That's what ESG is an ESCO, Energy Service Company, to follow. And if that process is followed, it turns into a very successful project. So that's what we're doing right now. We're following that FEMP process. And like I said, it's tried and true. It's worked out very well. So the goal of this particular project is to identify things that need to be upgraded, improved upon, end-of-life issues, and of course, do it all by reducing the energy and other costs that are being spent. And then those savings are actually used to fund the project with no money out of the town's pockets. So I live in Colchester, Connecticut, and I was the chair of the Energy Commission in town, and I helped our town navigate and go through an energy performance contract. That was about, I want to say about 9-10 years ago. The savings that we garnered from that exceeded what the ESCO had predicted. And after 3 years, the follow-up measurement and verification process that's typically followed for these projects, the town went ahead and ended it because they were so satisfied and confident that the savings would be sustainable. So next slide. Oh, back to you. And the other thing that I forgot to mention, which is probably one of the most important things, the savings that ESG is presenting to the town, those are guaranteed. If they don't achieve those savings, ESG writes the town a check to make up the difference. And they also are compelled to go back and whatever it is that's not performing the way that they had predicted, they correct that on their own nickel. Again, no cost to the town. So I think that's it, Doreen. Back to you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much. And we really appreciate your time. I don't want to go through some of these too long because I really want to get into the depth of your project. So with that, I just want to talk to you a little bit about Energy Systems Group at a glance, really quick. I really want to focus on your project and what we've been doing in your buildings from the last 11 months. And everyone has been phenomenal. When I tell you we had schedules for every 2-week look aheads, everything was documented, what buildings we would been, where we're going to be, and the teams on the schools in town, Jack Healy and his team were phenomenal the whole way through. I'm going to talk about the financials, the implementation schedule. All this will be installed over an 18-month schedule. So all the energy conservation measures and infrastructure improvements will be installed over that time period on first and second shift. So really quickly, who is Energy Systems Group? We're what's called an energy performance contracting company. Again, we have a first party guarantee, which what we offer in our project is a first party guarantee that anything that we're going to save, we write a check if we miss it. We miss the difference. Our only business is energy performance contracting. We're vendor neutral, and we look at what makes the best fit for the town and schools in New Milford. That is our charter. And saving energy, improving infrastructure, and finding ways to get things off your capital budgets. We've done approximately $3 billion on energy performance contracting, mostly in K through 12 schools and municipal governments. So let's talk a little bit more about your project. And excuse me if some of these slides are very small, but there's a lot of detail, and I just want to show you what it is. This is followed by a very, very large document that Jack Healy and the team NV5 has reviewed called an energy investment grade audit. So with that, Christian.
Sure. So this next one's going to be an eyesore, so I apologize in advance. But so the first step in this process is really getting a good understanding of how much energy, how much electricity, natural gas, fuel oil, et cetera, every building uses, what the kind of the relative contributions of the various building systems are. All that kind of starts with collecting 36 months worth of utility data, so we get a good feel of how much usage there is, what are the big users, where are the big opportunities for improvement. So this is what we call a utility baseline. So this is one of those things that Steve Wells and his team have spent a long time reviewing. So as you can see here, well, maybe you can't see here, it's about 7.5 million kilowatt hours a year. It's a lot of electricity. Most of it, the schools, about 80% of it. Annually, utility spend, if I remember correctly, is just south of $2 million a year is what you spend on electric, fuel, oil, and gas. I'll go to the next slide. So through the proposed measures that we put together, and I'll talk a little bit more about the measures in future slides, but we're looking at an overall reduction in utility costs of about 33%. So this is a savings of approximately $600,000 a year. So proportionally, this is about half the electricity used now. And then it looks like 11, 12, 15% of the thermal. So a lot of the savings from the school side, because that's where a lot of the addressable load is.
And what's really good about this data, and I know it's a lot of data to show you, to talk about, to put in very minute font so no one can read it. This data is important because you can't measure what you don't know. It's going to bring about really good budgetability and understanding where each of these pockets of energy comes from, how it's spent, where it is, and it gives you a really great snapshot of where you are as a community for your energy. All of this is going to be put into what the EPA calls the portfolio manager, again, to track that data, mine that data, and see how year to year we look against that data and the energy baseline that you have.
So in terms of carbon equivalence, this is about per year, we're looking at about 2,100 metric tons of CO2 reductions through implementation of all these various measures that we're proposing.
And I'd like to point out that's less cars on your roads that you're going to be fixing right there.
Save the road.
Good point.
Oh my gosh, I love those slides. So again, this is significant because it's going to show you, from energy savings to sustainability to infrastructure improvement. Those are the three legs on the stool, which are really, really important. And you're going to get all these improvements out of your current energy and operational budget. No capital outlay.
So this table is another eye chart, but so this shows all of the potential projects. We call these energy conservation measures, or ECMs. So I apologize in advance if I start using acronyms, but all the mini projects that build up to be the larger project. This is where we're proposing to install what measure. So you can see schools kind of on the left-hand side of this, town buildings over on the right-hand side of this. Any green X is where we are proposing to install that particular piece of scope. So we've got some more readable versions of this that break it down by school and town here in some future slides. So this is your school scope. So we've got a lot of significant infrastructure improvements going on here. We've got 2 boiler plants at 2 different schools, 2 chiller plants, a lot of solar PV, cogeneration plant, and all this kind of underpinned by some real good payback measures like LED lighting, building weatherization, things like pipe and valve installations, things that on a small scale don't save a whole ton, but when you extrapolate it out over an entire stock of schools, you generate a whole lot of positive cash flow to pay for some of these more expensive items. Next one. So this is your town project. I would say a couple of highlights here are 2 solar arrays, one at the police station, one at the water treatment plant, and then the other big ticket item here is that we're proposing to install an open source controls platform at what I would call like the core town buildings that would replace the array of different controls platforms you have now and tie everything back to a common headed computer so you'll have visibility into the various building systems just from one single place. Coincidentally, that's also the same platform we're proposing for a lot of the new equipment that's going into the school buildings. So you'll have the framework to build on that open source platform in the future also. So these are the slides where we get to talk about the good stuff. So these are the big, like heavy mechanical measures that we're looking at. So we're looking at 2 boiler plants, one at the high school, one at Sarah Noble. These will be gas-fired condensing boilers on a variable primary loop. So we're eliminating some pumping. We're putting in some what I would call premium efficiency boilers. And it replaces some aging infrastructure as well. Similar story with the chillers. We're replacing 2 air-cooled chillers at 2 different schools that are pretty much beyond their useful life right now. We are replacing the cooling tower at the high school, and we're completing the replacement of all the rooftop units at Sarah Noble. I believe it's 8 that we're installing. So these are significant infrastructure improvements that by themselves don't generate a whole lot of energy savings, but they are supported by the large amount of other scope that we have in the project. Next slide. So this is my personal favorite. So one of the strategies that we look at first and foremost is, once you have made a building as efficient as possible and you've controlled the load to the extent you can, then our next goal would be to offset as much of what's left with on-site generated electricity and thermal, so that you're slowly able to kind of divorce yourself from the utility over time. So we had looked at a few different options for the high school. We had started out thinking maybe we would do about 1 megawatt verse of carport solar. Didn't really pan out for payback reasons. We looked at a fuel cell, but we couldn't get the sizing quite right. We couldn't find a fuel cell that was small enough. Where we landed was actually 1 cogeneration plant at the high school, 2 engines, 75 kilowatts each, that will basically be base loaded and absorb all of your what we call like your base load for the building pretty much all the time. So you're offsetting a lot of grid purchase electricity, and you're recapturing heat off the engine to offset gas that you would otherwise buy from Eversource. Next slide. Nope, too far. Okay, solar. So we have we narrowed down our solar recommendation to what you see here is 4 arrays that total up to about 1.5 megawatts of solar production at 4 different sites. So we have just under 900 kW at Sarah Noble. We have a roof-mounted array at Hill and Plain. We have a kind of a combination of roof and carport at the police station, and we have you can kind of think of it as a carport at the wastewater treatment plant over a couple of the tanks and then a couple of those standing seam roofs also. So similar to cogen, this is just offsetting grid purchase electricity, which is perfect for a place like WPCA where they have a huge electrical load and they spend a significant amount on electric. The good thing that we were able to leverage here, specifically in Connecticut, is you have Eversource has a really robust renewable energy credit program. This is, without getting into too much detail, the state has mandated the local utilities to subsidize the installation of renewable energy. They've done this with what's called a renewable energy credit program, where companies like ESG partnering with the town of New Milford submit bids for the utility to purchase renewable energy from you for a long duration. So we're talking about 15-year contracts where the utility is agreeing to purchase RECs, a REC being like a megawatt hour of electricity. The end result of this is that you almost get to cut your payback period in half because of the amount of rebate that you're receiving from the utility. So makes solar, which is kind of a borderline economically viable measure, extremely attractive.
And Christian, here we're also installing some car charging stations as part of the solar arrays.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Another important piece of this puzzle, and something that is supporting a lot of the major infrastructure renewals, and to some extent the solar, is your LED lighting measure. So there have been a number of conversions at a lot of the schools. What we're doing basically is continuing that good work. We picked a couple of schools where we're doing really significant lighting improvements. And then the balance of the building, you're getting what we would call like an LED retrofit. So at the end of the day, all of your existing fluorescent lamps and any fluorescent ballasts will be removed and replaced with very low wattage LED technology. It's come leaps and bounds in the last 5 years or so. So yeah, I think that's it for that one.
That's a lot of lighting fixtures, 12,000, over almost 13,000.
13,000.
And the schools should be complimented on all of the work that they've done to date with the LED lights, knowing that not only helps with energy reduction, but also the replacement of those fixtures. These last so much longer.
Thank you very much. Former Board of Ed member. We've been working on that for 16 years.
Great job. Christian?
Sure. So I think this is the last one, or the second to last one. So every building has a building management system. This is kind of your building control system that tells all the various pieces of HVAC equipment how to work together. So big opportunities there are big opportunities for us in coming in and replacing or retrofitting these systems so that the equipment works more efficiently. So in the town building, what that is going to look like is we're proposing what's called an integration. So we're taking a lot of existing controls infrastructure and tying it back to a common head end so that you'll have visibility from one computer, and you'll have ability to centrally schedule and centrally implement a lot of control sequences that way. For the school building, what we're doing is any new piece of equipment, so the new chillers, new cooling towers, new boilers, pumps, all the appurtenances, those are going to go on the same kind of open source platform that we're proposing for the town buildings, with the intention long-term of being able to have town and schools all tied in together on one central head-end system. So this doesn't accomplish quite that, because frankly that's a very heavy lift, but this certainly gets you started down that path. And then these are some of the additional measures that I had mentioned. That kind of they're in isolation. None of them are critically important, but they provide critical positive cash flow to the project so that we can support all the kind of more expensive items. So things like plug load controllers, which address like what we call vampire load, things that just pull power when they're left plugged in all the time. Replacements to transformers, pipe and valve installation. Building weatherization, some low flow water fixtures. Any questions on any of these?
The only question, hi, thank you everybody for what you're doing, and I do appreciate it. Can you tell me how this is going to get paid? I'm a bottom of the line guy, so how does this work?
Okay, let me just let me just jump down to some of these slides. I want to skim over this, our project management schedule, and I'm going to go to financing. Go ahead.
I want to look at the management schedule.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I guess my question is, when does all this get started? And you know what? You can skip over it. I can't read it.
Okay,
wait. I think I have a magnifying glass here.
David, we'll come back and address your question.
There we go.
And speak through it, but let's answer Mike first.
Actually, while we're on that, could you send us a copy of this, please?
Absolutely.
Most helpful.
Absolutely. So, okay, I'm going to jump to the finances. Is that okay?
Yeah,
please.
Okay. So financially, this is financed typically through a tax-exempt lease. So a tax-exempt lease, most municipalities and schools in Connecticut that utilize a tax-exempt lease to finance the project. And I'm going to go to what the size of the project is, but the tax-exempt lease allows you very, very positive benefits. It allows, it's a very good competitive rate. We have some indicative rates on the bottom, which are very, very competitive. But once we go out to bid with you or with your financial advisor, we suspect these rates are going to get even lower than what we have, which only relates to a positive cash flow of your bottom line. As well as there's additional measures in the state of Connecticut through PURA, where there's additional buy down of the lease agreement over a 10-year term. If you utilize a vendor called Bank of America, the rate gets even lower because of the energy efficiency that you're doing just on the electrical side. So there's an added benefit through PURA, the state of Connecticut. So with that, the size of the project is $15 million with all the energy conservation measures in. I know you haven't seen our IGA, but it's bigger than an old-fashioned telephone book, which I'm not sure everyone knows, but an old-fashioned big telephone book is the detail behind all of this that we've spoken about. That is a no capital outlay. What that means to you, all the costs of the project, the fees for NV5, et cetera, all in there, all the scope of work. We expect right now about $1.8 million of renewable energy credits, demand response buy down, and utility incentives. All of these we've gone out to the market to get to help buy down the cost of the program. So right now we've captured about $1.8 million in dollars to buy down the cost. We think that number is going to grow through Eversource, but that's something that's a work in progress. What that gives you is a self-funding program with over the 20-year term has a $200,000 positive cash flow. So all of this net to the town is a positive $200,000 cash flow over the term. Included also in that is the measurement and verification of us and all the oversight and due diligence done by NV5.
So we only saved $200,000? Is that what you're saying?
So Mike, basically we're getting $15 million
Yep.
the capital without outlaying any additional revenue or expenditures than we're already doing. Actually, it's $200,000 less. So
Okay.
a $15 million project, right?
Yep.
We're using the budgetary dollars that we're currently using today.
Yep.
Is what they're saying, and Doreen, correct me if I'm wrong, that's including, right? We'll continue to get a $200,000 positive cash flow over 20 years.
Each year?
No, over the total of the 20 years. So each year we have set the schedule up to be slightly positive over each year. So the cost is paid out through the savings in your current energy and operational budget. So there's no need for capital, no capital outlay. If you did nothing today, it would be you would spend the same money over time, but instead we're going to put this investment of $15 million in all of these buildings across your town and schools portfolio, do all of these upgrades, capital, operational improvements, and then that will then decrease those budget line items, which will pay for the tax-exempt lease over the time.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
So no net additional cost, Mike, for $15 million worth of capital.
Yeah, you know, I don't like to spend money, Pete.
Yeah, I know.
We have been digging and digging and digging. Poor Christian. Christian, we need more utility incentives. And the mayor and Jack Healy and the school side and Nestor and your HVAC gentleman, everyone that we've dug deep in, we just keep asking and pushing and pushing and pushing because we want to do the best for the town. And this is the project that funds itself over the term.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I just have to thank everybody for the time that they've put in for us, for asking these questions, for seeing us in their buildings, for putting in data loggers, putting in equipment to test and train. And they've been phenomenal. You've really been phenomenal.
And Mike, can you unmute Jack Healy?
Could be coming in.
Hello.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Pete.
So Jack is representing the town in all this as well. And I know you've done these programs at, I believe, Berlin, I think it was. Can you kind of update the council on your end as far as the town?
This is going to be a big help as far as you're going to get a lot of capital equipment that you were going to need anyway, but you're not going to pay for it. I'll say that in Berlin, and we did this in 2000, we signed up in 2015, we were paying 4% interest. So the market's even better now. It's going to create, I think one thing that Doreen, we talk about every time is also it's going to create better indoor air quality, indoor health. The health of the schools, the health of the town buildings is going to be improved. The air quality is going to be better. As you know, it's important to us to have clean buildings and improved healthiness of the buildings. So a big part of this also in our discussions has been to improve that part of our systems. I've been pushing, Doreen, on a BMS system, a building management system. The portfolio manager is a big part of that, so that as we go forward, we can make decisions on how we buy and utilize energy based on the data that we get day to day. Part of that is looking at our load to see if we can do some load shedding, staggered starts, so that you don't set your demand early in the morning when everything kicks on, and we're able to diversify our loads. So there's a lot of good information that's going to come out of this. If for any reason, Mike, you want something to read, the IGA is about 450 pages. I'm willing to share it with you.
Bedtime reading.
Doreen, Mr. Lawson had a question about the schedule, and I think Mr. Lawson specifically about when we would start. Was that the question also?
Well, I know you've already started. What I'm talking about is installation, for example, of solar powers and these boilers and things of that nature.
So I can answer that. So right now I've got about a 10-page installation schedule that we're refining. So we're looking after appropriate board approvals to start June 1. Which would kick off a specific schedule per building with the superintendent of schools, the facility director, Jack Healy, Dave Martin, and the town staff to talk about when we can get into what buildings when. So we're looking at first and second shift because we want to optimize the savings going into the winter months. What technologies can we put in sooner than later? We don't want to be in buildings when they're with students or children in it, but we want to get some of those indoor air quality filters in the high school that we're changing out in during the summertime. So we'll have a specific schedule that we reviewed both by the town and by the schools, making sure that we can get in at the appropriate time and that it's scheduled on unoccupied schedule.
Okay, so let's assume you start June 1st. When would all these things be completed? Let's do it that way.
Sure, it's an 18-month schedule starting on June 1st.
Okay, and I'm very pleased that you have included solar power on some of the buildings, but I'm perplexed why the high school is not being considered for, is not receiving solar panels.
So we did look at solar at a across a huge portfolio of buildings, and we put them into the bid market. And Christian, you can maybe expand on that a little bit.
Yeah. So we participated in the Eversource Year 9 LREC ZREC program. So in this program, ESG submitted bids for 4 large arrays and 3 medium size arrays. Eversource classifies your array size by small, medium, large. So we were selected and awarded for our medium ZREC arrays. We were not selected for any of our large arrays. So that was the high school, Sarah Noble Middle School, and one other array that I forget. But so we did, at one point we had about 1 megawatt worth of solar proposed for the high school. But because it was carport solar, the economics, even with the REC, were just borderline neutral to the project. So what that means is that it wasn't helping. It wasn't really.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that proposal. I'm familiar with the carport proposal.
Yeah.
I was talking about the roof itself as you're facing the building, just the left-hand side.
Yeah, the roof in its current condition can't support solar.
Right, but it will be able to support solar.
Correct. Yep.
So what we can do is help with that, because we already have started that design on the carport. We looked at the roofs. We can help on putting it back into the REC market on behalf of you at any point in time to try to garner those REC credits.
It wouldn't be, you would have to approach the Board of Education about that.
Okay, of course.
Would be.
But I'm fully aware of the carport proposal, and I know the roof condition very well. And but we are getting one that will be supportive of solar panels. It will be put up on there. So I would hope that you would reinvestigate that.
Oh yes,
absolutely.
And Doreen,
because the original proposal is just for the left-hand side, because you run the current, it loses its power, blah blah blah. So I'm not talking about the complete roof.
And Doreen, one thing for the council. As information as well, is this also can be something that has moving pieces. This isn't definitive in stone. So if indeed we do find out that solar has a good ROI on the roof of the high school, you can also add this into the project.
Well,
absolutely.
That's why I asked for a schedule.
Yes.
That's exactly why I asked for a schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for solar schedule wise, when you have REC awards, there comes a critical date that you have to have the solar installed and commercially operating. So that kind of becomes a critical time in the schedule. Now, the good thing is my intent would be to bid in the high school again for the year 10 solicitation, which I'm expecting to come out over the summer. That would give you a delivery term start date, or that critical schedule date of probably 2 calendar years from now. So it would definitely be possible to dovetail that piece into our overall project schedule wise.
I really think you should. Yeah.
Agreed.
Make a lot more sense. And guess what? Makes the roof last longer.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a few questions.
Chris?
Yep, thank you. So if I've got it right, the vast majority of the savings is coming from electric, much smaller on oil and gas. But I'm pleased to see roughly a third reduction in water usage.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. Installation of a lot of this equipment, do you anticipate operations in the schools or within the town buildings being it all impacted with this project?
Hey, Chris, this is Jack. We did the project in Berlin. We did it with it. I can't tell you that it's not a little inconvenient, but the contractors, they work very well with the staff. We set up time frames, and you do it while the buildings are occupied. Otherwise you would never get it done. But it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of communication. I wish I could say it's perfect, but it's not. But it does come out, and at the end, it does work.
Okay. So on the solar panels, I think my last knowledge of these is the arrays last roughly 20 years. Is that still the case?
Usually nowadays, panels are warranty for 25 and inverters are rated for 30.
25. So at the end of this lease, our solar panels will be just about end of life. So I guess after that, we would be responsible for replacing them. Is that true?
Yeah.
So I guess that's something we would have to budget for. Will certainly affect our budget before the lease is over. And I guess that would be the same for the other generation equipment. We'd have to look at that.
Yeah, the same is true with boilers. They're good for 20 or 30 years.
Yes, yes.
There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
They're 600 a pop.
I understand that. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge that and we budget for it.
Just because there's 20 years is up doesn't mean all of a sudden the solar panels don't work anymore. It still has value.
But same with the boilers.
They lose their efficiency.
Yeah, but we're still getting energy from them. Whether it's a boiler becomes less efficient, and it's a little different when panels become less efficient. If it's still creating energy, it's creating less energy. It's still happening.
Right. And so it sounds to me like, and there's a lot of different thermostats. There'll be a lot of new equipment. I guess it would be the manufacturers of the equipment that would train our employees on how to operate and maintain this equipment.
So it'd be both ESG and the manufacturers. And what we're going to do is we're also going to have that videotaped. So all of the training will be videotaped such that people change jobs, people move building to building, and we understand that's going to happen normally through a normal flow. So that would be videotaped so that we can pass that on to other people.
Okay. And just one thought in my mind, I think I understand the financing of this, and I guess this is going to be run by Greg Ossipow. Pete, I guess. Yep. Okay. But so, and how does ESG get paid in this project?
It's all included.
Mike, was that you that said that, Michael Gold?
Yes, didn't I see that in the slide that it's all included in the 15 mil?
Exactly right. So as a part of the original solicitation, you chose our organization relative to competitors in this marketplace based on those open and transparent markups. So Chris, this is a guaranteed turnkey package. You no longer pay the utility for that reduction, you pay yourselves. And as Jack had said, the market is very attractive right now with low cost of interest. It's candidly great timing to afford knowing that you do not have that tax burden for your community.
So, but I guess my question is, so who's writing ESG a check? How do you get paid? You're a for-profit company, I assume, right?
Yes, your escrow. So what happens is through the support of your fiscal advisor, we support, however, go out, find the best cost of financing, enter into that financing, that money gets released to escrow, and you are complete in control of that money.
Okay, so, right, we get the financing and you get a cut of that.
You release those payments to us based on progress.
Got it. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes.
Katie?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to suggest that since we haven't seen this, to look at it, and obviously, we can't really read it through the screen, and we need to digest it a little, and that we take the package you're going to send to us and review it and study it, and then we discuss this at the next council meeting with our questions, because, we're getting close to, it's at 9:00 actually, and I think that for the public as well as for the council members, it's a lot to take in, and questions keep arising. So we're going to keep asking, but I'm thinking we might take more in and retain it if we did it another day. What do you think, Mayor?
Yep. Any other questions from anybody else on the council?
Pete, I have a question, or I just want to.
Mary Jane?
I just want to say that I'm really glad that we're looking at this and going in this direction. we've been talking about it for years, and it's gotten, nowhere. And I think it's about time. So it's a great idea. I think we should move on it.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Stephanie?
Can I also get that package when it comes out?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So moving forward, we'll send the deck out. Any questions council has, we'll then get over to Doreen. Oh, Dave, I'm sorry. See you.
And when can we expect to have this package? This
Tomorrow.
proposal? Oh,
Tomorrow.
that
Should
works.
we then forward our questions to you, Mayor, or should we go direct to Doreen?
We're to here, and then we'll give it to Doreen and to Jack Healy.
Great.
Since Jack is our point.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
Yep, thank
Great
you.
project.
Thank you.
You have a great
project.
team. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Mayor, we have item 10, which is grants, which has to do with our Department of Transportation senior bus. Is Tammy with us?
Yes. Mike, can you unmute Tammy?
I don't see her. Oh, there she is.
Good evening, everybody. There shouldn't be too many questions. Hopefully you can get through this topic this evening.
I think so.
So what I have presented for you is it's an annual request. It's the State of Connecticut DOT matching grant program. This grant program, for those council members who have been here in years past, helps support the transportation program that operates out of the senior center that provides transportation not only to our seniors, but does provide transportation to those in town needing rides to work or to the grocery store through a coordinated effort with a HART transit system. So the grant amount is a standard amount. It's based on the population base. And although we were expecting to have an increase this year, the Connecticut DOT has confirmed that due to the current COVID situation, they are not expecting any increases. So our allocation remains at $50,048. It's a matching grant program, as you'll see on the note that I requested to be on the agenda this evening. And we do match that grant with the items that are already in the budget for the senior center. So the matching one for one, if you will, is $20,000 towards this for each of the 2 bus drivers, plus $5,000 in the clerical that helps support the scheduling of these rides for our seniors and those in need. That totals $45,000. And the other $5,048 comes from our DPW budget area for the maintenance, repair, and support of the buses that are utilized for this program. So there is a resolution that is required and recommended for you to pass this evening if you don't have any questions for me.
Well, I'll make the motion and we can have a discussion. I'd like to move that we adopt the resolution pertaining to for year 2021 Department of Transportation Matching Grant Program, which is MGP 13B-38BB in the amount of $50,048 for transportation of seniors and persons with disabilities.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
So be it resolved that Mayor Pete Bass is authorized to negotiate and execute all necessary agreement, contract documents on behalf of the town of New Milford with the Department of Transportation of the state of Connecticut for the Elderly and Disabled Demand Responsive Transportation Expanded Program, MGP 13B-38BB, and to affix the corporate seal.
Thanks, Tammy. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank
And
you.
Last, we have item 11, Mayor.
Yep, for 11A, I'd like to ask the council if we could postpone that to the next meeting. We had some councilmen ask for some additional information, some mapping, and I need to get that to the councilman. So
that'll be April
Actually,
26th?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I lost my, Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Can you
Dave.
hear me?
Yes. Yep, I can hear you, Dave.
Could all that information be released to all of us?
Yes, it will go to everyone. Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Item 11B, move to form a 3-person subcommittee to study the benefits for our first responders.
Yep. And as thank you, Walter. And as this was stated at our budget deliberations and hearings, the need to review our benefits for our first responders. So I'm asking the council if we can set up a 3-person subcommittee. So I had a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Katie, I'd like to also move to add to the agenda actually, I will bring forward 3 names tonight. If we could vote on those, if it's okay with the council.
Okay, so we'll make a, all right. Okay, so I'd like to suspend the rules to add item 11B1 to the agenda for the approval of 3 names for the aforementioned subcommittee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Walter. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. For the 3 people, I would like to nominate the following: Councilman Chris Cosgrove, Councilman Dave Lawson, and our Pension Committee Chairman, Tom Pilla.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Who made that motion?
Peter.
Can you do that?
I move that we put David Lawson, Councilman Chris Cosgrove, and Tom Pilla on this 3-person subcommittee for the benefits of first responders.
Thank you. And Walter had seconded, Stephanie.
Second, yes.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
And Mayor, you have one more item?
Yep. And this is just a brief update concerning the American Relief Fund as it's ever changing. We're supposed to be getting some more information from Congresswoman this week, as well as from the governor. Basically, some of the updates are things that can be used for this on the town side. The town will receive some funding as well as the Board of Education. This cannot be used to reduce taxes. So far, what it can be able to do is to respond to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 or its negative economic impacts. It can respond to workers performing essential work during COVID-19 by the public health emergency. It also allows the government services to extend the reduction of revenue. So shortfalls in revenue, we can fulfill those by use of the American Rescue Plan. And I will have more information to the council, I'm hoping within the next day or two, once I get additional guidance. But they're ever changing with this, with the federal government allowing different opportunities. As soon as I get that, I will share this with the council and I will put this on the next agenda.
Great.
Thank you, Pete.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
And
Second.
second, okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Mayor.
Good night. Good night,
Thank you.
everybody.